All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the end of week market review. Today is August 24th, 2012, and we're just going to be going through a couple of things here. This is going to be our first weekly market review. And so we'll be just going through things and basically be discussing what's going to change from our end of day market review into our end of week market review. Now, before we get started, though, we are just going to ask that you quickly give this disclaimer a quick read. Once you're done, we'll go ahead and get started with the agenda. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is start off with the same types of topics that we would have in our end of day. With that, we're going to be looking at the market news. We're going to be looking at charts for both the S&P 500 and the TSX. While we're looking at those charts, we'll be looking at daily charts, and we'll be identifying support and resistance levels, as well as identifying location of the MACD. We're then going to go to the volatility index review, where we'll be able to identify the level of volatility that's in the current marketplace. Where things will get a little bit different for the weekly review is we're then going to go ahead and take a look at a weekly chart for the S&P 500. And while we're here, we're just going to be identifying what the big picture looks like. Where are we in the big scheme of things if we compare where the S&P 500 is now compared to weeks, months, and even years in the past? And then we will finish off with a weekly pick review if we've had any picks that were worth repeating. And then finally, answering any questions that customers might have. Now, I am going to apologize in advance. As you can tell by my voice, I am fighting a cold. So if I end up letting a cough out, I definitely do apologize. I'll try to make sure my line is muted though. We did end up with a bit of a rise today. This was despite a severe loss that we ended up having yesterday. Unfortunately, though, we did end up ending week 7 with a little bit of a decline. So we were up for 6 weeks and down on week 7. All in all, the Dow went up today 0.77%, with the S&P 500 up 0.65%. Oil fell 0.59%, putting it at $97.33 per barrel, with gold falling 0.04%. So not much of a loss there. That loss put us down to $1,672.20 per ounce. All right, as we can see here, the S&P 500 is finding some support, just like we would expect it was going to. I found some support at about 1400. Now, there's a lot of support that's going on in this neighborhood right now. There is 2 levels of vertical support and horizontal support. The first one is a cycle high that was established back at the beginning of May. The second one is a psychological level at 1400. We've also got a rising trend line that was established back at the beginning of June or the middle of June there. So quite a bit of support here holding the S&P 500 up. Unfortunately, the MACD is still with the black line down below the blue line, though it is starting to flatten out, which means that it could be on its way back to a rising market sentiment. The overhead resistance that we're going to be up against is going to be just below 1425, somewhere around 1420. If we can break beyond that point, then we've got some new overhead windows that we could end up fighting towards, and we'll be able to identify that once we go to our weekly chart. Taking a look at the TSX, you can see that we're going to be looking for some support at around 12,000. Now, the MACD is declining bullish, with the black line just about to cross down below the blue line. As it stands right now, it is still above. Will it end up going down as low as 12,000? Possible. It could even go lower, though we're not going to be that concerned so long as it doesn't go below a cycle low. We'll continue to see the TSX rising up with the cycle highs and cycle lows all getting higher. All right, and here we've got the volatility index review. We can see that the volatility indicator is currently at 15.23. This means that the indicator is very much so within its normal trading range. You're going to find that between 14 and 15, or even up to 16, is quite normal. Certainly, as the markets pull back, the indicator is going to start working itself up again. And that's why we ended up going from a low of mid 13s up to mid 16s over this week. And that's just because of the volatility increase as the S&P 500 decreased in value. No real concern here, though. Certainly not unless the indicator starts to creep up beyond 18 or higher. So we're just going to take this moment right here to quickly take a look at the weekly chart. And this is where we just want to really look back at the bigger picture and see what's going on. It would be nice to be able to say that this 6-week rise is new and it's something that we've never really seen before. But if you take a look at the S&P 500 here, and you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of gains, you'll be able to see the week here where we've ended up down. Now, how are we doing in the big scheme of things? Well, if we look over here and we draw a line straight across, you can see that we are actually in an all-time high right now. And we really have not been here this high for the last year. So what I want to do now is even go back to a 5-year chart. And now you can really see what's been going on here. You can see that we've been working ourselves up quite consistently since the beginning of 2009. We can draw a very loose trend line here. And like I said, this is very loosely drawn. But you can say this is about what's been going on since then. We can also draw some very loose resistance, which could even get tightened up here a little bit, like that. So you can get a pretty good picture here of what's been going on. Have there been down days? Yes. Has there been down weeks? Absolutely. Does it look like we might come up to one in the near future? Yeah, it certainly does. What we need to do is we need to position ourselves as traders to take advantage of when the markets are looking good. And if we go back to 2009, we would have wanted to trade quite aggressively here, 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 and here, where we're going to try to avoid those points where the markets are declining. So it looks like we can certainly be continuing to trade aggressively. When we start to see the markets pull back, that's when we start to hold back in our positions. And that's basically what's going on right now. We look like it could end up going up, well, maybe for another couple weeks before reaching this new point of resistance. So with that said, I'm going to go back to our slides here. Unfortunately, we didn't have any picks to review from our basic or our advanced watch list. The markets have they've peaked out and then started their decline for the week. So nothing there. One of the criteria that we have is that we're not trading any stocks that are in a 3-month high. And as you were able to very clearly see with the S&P 500, the markets are well beyond a 3-month high. They're in a 1-year high. So, community news. Obviously, we've got our end of week market reviews. These are every Friday at 3:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Great way for us to get together, review the week, and see how things are going. We've also got an opportunity for you to plug yourselves in live every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. In these presentations, we're going to be going through and reviewing the disciplines. We're going to be enhancing and building on the disciplines, talking about how our advanced course or our options course or our shorting course can complement your current trading style. It's also a great opportunity for you to plug yourselves in and just ask questions. This is your opportunity to bring your questions to myself and just say, hey, Jason, how do I do this? I don't remember how to do that. Can you take a look at this stock for me? And really have that chance to communicate as a group and understand these disciplines. For our ITL customers, you're going to have the ability to plug yourself in every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time to our weekly spotlight. And this is just that opportunity for us to say, here's the picks that we've produced over the last week, and here's how they've done. We definitely encourage you to plug yourselves into these, because if you're seeing that we're posting success on our watch list picks, you should also be seeing that same success. This is a great way for us to keep everybody accountable and make sure that we're all pushing forward the way we should be. Moving into our less frequent events, our options customers, you'll be able to plug yourselves in live on September 6th, October 11th, November 15th, and December 13th. These are a great way for our options customers to revisit the disciplines and make sure that they're continuing to press forward with Randy McMullen going through live examples of some of the most recent options trades that you can get yourselves into. And for the fun sessions, every year we come to some of the major cities within Western Canada, which will include Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Calgary, and Regina. While we're here, we're going to be actually sitting in front of you in the flesh and blood. We're going to be going through and just hammering home the disciplines, everything that you need to make sure that you're fully understanding what's going on and that you're doing exactly what you should be doing. If you can't get yourself to any of these presentations, we are also going to be having them recorded in such a way that you can be there on your computer while it's going on live. So there's no excuse for anybody to not be able to attend this, whether it be live in the flesh and blood, live in the webinar conference, or watching it after the fact in the archived recording. But obviously, being there, being able to see the instructor, being able to see trend lines being drawn, cycle highs being identified is going to be the best way to take advantage of this. And then finally, two of our bigger trade shows that we attend every year. If you're in the Winnipeg area, September 28th and 29th, or in the Regina area for our Agribition, November 19th to 24th, we would love to see you guys. It's always nice to be able to put a face to the names that we work with day to day. Just brings our community a little bit closer and a little bit tighter. And finally, if anybody has any questions, send them off to training@idealtraininglifestyle.com or call us toll free 1-888-942-0266. Make sure that you're dialing extension number 5. So with that said, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation and have yourself a good rest of your week. Ciao for now.